Save some water here by.
Okay. Robert, I think this one is pretty straightforward. We're going to request the funding and it'll be determined by Finance Committee. Can I have a motion to that effect? For 2C regarding the Dickinson settlement?
Move it along.
Thank you. Could I have a second? Thank you, Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion on 2C regarding this funding source? We're going to push it over to Finance. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That carries. Okay, Ms. Allen.
So 3A is the resolution tracking report. I just noticed that that's missing from your packet, so I emailed it to all of you and we did post it online just a second ago. So when you get a chance to look at that, give me a call if you have any questions. 3B and 3C are both requests for funding to cover budget shortages. We are out of money in the coroner's budget, and that one, as you know, we put in $100,000 for it and hope that we don't exceed that, but unfortunately we have mid-year. So I'm requesting $50,000 to get us a little further through the year. Hopefully it'll get us to the end. That's a referral to finance to determine a source of funding. And then 3C, excuse me, we're running short in our supplies code. We did use $5,000 from there to purchase Chromebooks. So we're hoping we can get that back from the contingent account to get us through the rest of the year.
Move B and C.
B and C, thank you. Second, Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? Chairwoman?
I would just like the record to reflect that you can certainly transfer out of the salary codes as well for the Chromebooks. That was a result of reducing stipends at the beginning of the year. We did leave those savings in the general fund. So there is, savings in other areas as well to cover those costs.
Thank you for that reminder. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries.
Okay, and then 3D, that's a request to amend the prior resolution on the standard reporting. That resolution from 2020, excuse me, was sent into the state retirement system in 2020. We just got, or the treasurer's office just got a memo from them saying that they reviewed it and they found a couple of discrepancies that they wanted us to update and re-adopt the resolution. So that's what I'm asking for now.
Amanda, what year was this from?
2020.
2020.
They
Okay.
just are finally getting to it, I guess.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll move there.
Thank you. Motion second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Thank you, Amanda. That's it for you. And next we have the self-insurance administrator, Ms. Clute, coming to the podium. Thank you for being here and waiting for us.
Thank you. My first item 4A is a request for a new contract with AWPRX. They're our pharmacy network vendor. We did an RFP. They are the incumbent and the lowest proposal.
Okay,
Do you want me to do B right with it?
let's take this one. Supervisor McGowan,
Well, questions?
do you have a question or do you want to move it?
We'll move it.
I'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a second.
Did he make a motion?
He did.
Oh, now second.
Good. Thank you. Brad,
Well, no, I was just making a motion to keep things moving.
did you have a question?
No,
Okay,
I was making the motion.
so this is in, hold on. Yep, it's in our packet there with the bids. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, item 4B is a request for a new contract with One Call Medical as diagnostic testing network vendor for the self-insurance plan. Again, we did an RFP. They are the incumbent. They are the lowest proposal. There is no tab sheet in your packet because One Call Medical's pricing is proprietary.
I'll move it.
Gotcha. Understood. Okay, thank you. Second by Supervisor McGowan. Garrity McGowan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries.
Item 4C is a request for a new contract with Karisk Intelligent Clearinghouse for the purpose of becoming a submission partner to satisfy the Workers' Comp Board mandate under their CMS 1500 initiative. This was something that we only had to get quotes for. This was the lowest quote. And that's a new contract with no termination date, I'm hoping, whatever the county attorney approves.
What is all this stuff behind 4C?
That's all our.
I mean,
That's going to be an item that should be 4D.
okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you. So for 4C, do we have a motion? No, right?
I'll make a motion. I have a question.
Supervisor Garrity, I'll come back to you for the motion and a
Exactly what
second.
they do, Amy.
They are an intermediary between the medical providers and us. The Workers' Comp Board is mandating that we receive bills electronically starting on October 1st, and that we contract with what's called submission partners. So the CARISC is a submission partner. So they'll take the information from the doctor, translate it into a document that we can understand, and then we will send it back to them to send back to the doctor what we've, an explanation of what we've paid.
Yeah, I love it. Let's look at the motion.
So Supervisor Garrity made the motion. We need a second. Supervisor McGowan, is there discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, that carries.
If I may just add a D to that as
Yeah.
as an informational, in your packet, it's labeled 4C as the 2022 plan participant assessments, a total of 1,250,000 and change for the workers' comp plan out to the participants. So we now send these to the participants for them to use in their budgets. It's just an informational item.
Great. Any questions from our town supervisors here who may see their assessment there? Questions? Nope. Thank you for all your hard work. I know you've been working on this and
Thank you.
it's good.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
All right. Oh, boy. Treasurer Swan was not able to be here. Let's see if there's something in 5. Is this 5? He has a resolution request here. We've talked about this at the last committee meeting. We did give him kind of a green light to bring us back a proposal. So if you'll see there, compensation would be vacation days that could be rolled over and used in the following year, no later than June 30th. And that would be separate and independent, it says, from the normal allowable vacation carryover policy. Supervisor Conover?
Subject to the county administrator's concurrence, I think that a lot of people were delayed in their ability to take time during this last year. And if we want, on a one-year basis, we want to extend that. Otherwise, just use it or lose it, right?
Right, and we did pass that resolution for this year to allow people to carry over for 2020. This is actually going to give them additional days.
I know. That's why I'm saying subject to,
Okay,
you're saying additional.
days
No,
as a benefit
this is-
I
from the time worked during the coronavirus pandemic.
I thought we were going to take that up second, so it's all one and the same. Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
All right. Mhm.
well, how he has it on here, Ron, look at in right before number 6A.
I'm looking.
Yes, Supervisor Garrity.
Didn't the committee already discuss this? Some committee?
We discussed it at our last committee meeting.
Right,
There have
right.
been some discussions outside of committee meeting with the administrator and the treasurer and some others, but no decisions were made. There was talk of, we did not do the premium pay or hazard pay. Do you want to help me out here? please?
Right. Yeah, we didn't do hazard pay the way some counties did. And there were certain departments that were required. The treasurer's office is one of them, where all the employees were still required to report on site. There were certain departments where the employees were required not to report. We were under state mandates at the time to have essential workers only. And then there were other departments where my department's a good example of that, where we had the ability to be remote, but we were often here anyway. So I think what the goal with this policy would try to advance is recognize that there were people who still came here, put themselves in harm's way due to the fact that they were here and not home, and to compensate them in a manner that wouldn't create a financial burden on the county.
I'll move it.
Okay,
I'm gonna second it.
Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion, yes.
Yeah, one quick question.
Supervisor Driscoll, yep.
Individuals who are hired during the pandemic or left employment of the county during the pandemic, will we be prorating that time, those days
Do hiring?
accordingly, or no?
No, because the idea here, if I'm given leeway to administer this, the idea here would be to award extra vacation time, prorate it for the amount of time during a set. So we're going to take, let's say, for example, it was March through June, whatever those dates might be. Go back and look at the payroll records where people punched to see how much of the time they were here, how much of the time they were remote. And if it's going to be 5 vacation days, let's say, prorated. If they were here 100% of that time, they get all 5. If they were here for a fraction of that time, they get the fraction. The stipulations would be that those vacation days may never be cashed out upon
Okay.
separation.
Right.
They may only be used.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak, even though I'm not on your committee. Did we have a specific policy that dictated who was mandated to come in and who was not?
It was left to department heads' discretion.
And have we discussed or addressed how this would apply to employees like DPW employees who may have reported to another facility or may have gone directly from home to a work site without logging in?
Well, I think the distinction would be it doesn't matter which work site you're at. The distinction is whether you're home or whether you're physically at work.
I would
Are you-
just, I would just caution that without a policy that directed department heads, and that having been left to the discretion of each department head, this is a dangerous move.
I hear what you're saying. And like Ryan mentioned, there were department heads who required their people to stay home. And so they're not going to get the benefit because they were told to stay home and work from home as remotely as possible, as much as they could. So
And those
I don't-
people worked very, very hard.
I know. And everyone was under stress. And there was that window of time though, where I feel like we were under that mandate to have as few people here as possible.
Right.
I want to do something. I just don't want there to be hurt feelings of people who were like, I was working too. And I was told not to come in, so I didn't. So now I'm not going to get the benefit because I was at home. But there's also people who were here and they were putting themselves at risk more than others who were able to work from home. But that wasn't their fault that they were working from home. It's just a lot to juggle. Yeah.
To address the supervisor's concern, that's why I would say I wouldn't get into whether someone opted to come in or whether someone was told you must come in. I would just, if we are going to do this, I would say just strictly look at the time when people were in. Don't look at whether they were told to be here or not. Look at the time they were in and acknowledge that there was a health risk to that and award based on that. If we're to go down this road, that's the way I would do it.
And I do have a question. Is this going to apply to department heads or no?
It won't apply to me, but I would be open to have it apply to department heads.
If they were here, I guess that's fine. Yep. Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Supervisor Hogan. It is a difficult thing. Ryan, I really do believe the way you just stated it, handling it, the best, the shortest. And it doesn't, this is a catch-22 in my opinion. We're damned if we do and damned if we don't, but I would like to be able to award. This is very little for some of the people that were here full-time. And doing that and coming into this building and doing what they had to do this the COVID. So, but I like the way you're going to handle it, it's physically here and the less, the less involvement of trying to figure it all out. I think the better we are. Not that I'm trying to hide anything, but I would like to compensate the employees that did come in and didn't have the choice to stay home.
I'm going to go around the room here. Supervisor Conover.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I am on the committee.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, how does this apply to those that were on an on-call basis, specifically DPW? There's people did come in, they did plow the roads, or they did come in during the day to take care of certain duties. Would this apply to those kinds of departments as well?
Are you asking outside of regular work hours if we would consider?
Well, if they're on an on-call basis, it's possible that they also had to report during work hours. You don't know when they got snowstorms. You don't know when they came in to plow the roads or salt or any other public works or any other kind of
We wouldn't,
situation. So I
wouldn't
guess
we
what I'm
know?
saying is just how's this handled? Anyone that was on an on-call basis that was called in.
I think what we would do is we would go back to the time records. If someone reported, it's going to be reflected in the time records. And I would take, for instance, you have a 40-hour work week. If someone reported for 30 of those hours, then they get credit for 75% of that week. That's the way I would handle it.
Okay, and just if I may, as a follow-on,
Yes.
those people that were on an on-call basis that came in as time and a half. I'm not.
No, I don't think
putting
that
you on the
matters.
spot. What
No.
I'm saying is that I just want to make sure that this has been thought through all of the departments and that we.
Do you want to give us, me, the HR director and the treasurer, some broad parameters to work this out, and we'll work out details and bring it back?
I like that.
Yeah, I do
like
too.
that idea. You see what I'm saying?
We've been rolling this around, but maybe now if this is the direction we're going to go, we can get some more details on it and bring it back next month when Treasurer Swan is here too.
I'm good.
But I'm going to take comment. Go ahead, Chairwoman.
Thank you. I am sorry I stepped out for a moment, but again, I know we have been discussing this for quite some time. I would prefer to follow Supervisor Conover's lead with this in terms of working on this down the road. But that ARPA survey that we put out, the initial results, they're showing us by the hundreds, people talking about time off and premium pay and, you know, a discussion around how we're going to look at this as a result of COVID, response to COVID, not just those physically sitting at their desks doing hard work, but also those on call, those going out to home visits to speak to concerns of DSS or probation, law enforcement. There's been so many different opinions that have come in through this survey process that we'll all be able to look at in a month. I also thought that we had a discussion about implementing a time off award nomination form like the federal government does, that would be available not just in COVID, but down the road for consideration. And I knew we discussed this, Ryan, before you were out in June and had kind of tabled it to have more discussion once you got back. And you've certainly been very busy, but I would appreciate the opportunity to look at, you know, a time off award program that's consistent with some federal guidelines as well that might be helpful, instead of just a one-time award for responding during COVID. And I thought that was dialogue we were going to continue to have. So I don't know if you're
That's
looking,
perfectly fine. I just think that's separate and yeah, it sort of fell off my radar.
right?
So we can have that discussion. I would like to understand better the availability to use the ARPA funds. I don't know at this point. So I do agree with coming back. Just a second, Supervisor Conover. I'm going to come around to Supervisor Hogan, then I'll come back to you.
Thank you for another opportunity to speak to this. And I think the chairwoman touched on it. We should look at this in the context of the ARPA funds. But I also want to caution the committee on moving forward with this and really clearly define in your heads what it is exactly we're rewarding. Because if we're going to talk about rewarding employees for taking a risk or rewarding employees who endangered their health, I don't know why we would go down this road now when on every day our DPWs out there and sometimes in dangerous situations. Every time a member of DSS steps into someone's home, they're endangering themselves. I just want us to be very clear on what we're rewarding here. Thank you.
Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, I think this amplifies on what I said, Brian. Just think it through all the departments, including public safety, corrections, and all that. And I classify a lot of that as on call, but some did come in, some required. Right? I think we need to think it through and also let's not forget about bargaining.
Does this apply to the sheriff's department?
That would be a conversation we would definitely have to have with the sheriff. There's certainly no department there are many departments that put themselves at risk, and the sheriff is certainly high among them. But the idea is to try to not create a financial impact on taxpayers. So adding vacation time could carry implications there.
Supervisor Thomas.
But there is a financial impact. I mean, it might not be direct, but there still is a financial impact. So I would like to see some estimation on what that is.
In terms of filling shifts.
If someone's not working, somebody has to fill in.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I concur that we need to take our time and get this right. I also just want to point out there's a number of departments that I'm aware of that had people coming in kind of like a staggered schedule. They may be in for 2 hours into the office, and then the balance of that day was spent at home. I don't want to complicate things, but how do you measure that?
Yeah, I think that's what we've really been struggling with. So we'll take it up. We'll ask Treasurer Swan and Ryan to work on it some more and bring it back to us next month. I'd like to keep us moving though, Supervisor Garrity. And also I'm given a note to remind all the supervisors to speak into your mics.
You want me to withdraw my motion?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, please.
All right, I withdraw my motion. I was going to get up and do a point of order and withdraw it, but
Would you like to stand up and
yes,
Do-
point of order. I withdraw my motion.
point well taken? We will withdraw the motion. Thank you.
And give Ryan, but I want us to know that Ryan's going to
Yeah.
expend hours with Jackie and whoever to try to get us a number.
We'll work on it.
Okay, good. Okay.
All right, next is our district attorney. Agenda items. These two, I believe it's two, yes, did not go through the Criminal Justice Committee, but I believe they are here with the sort of green light of the chair. Yep. Do you want to speak to that, Supervisor Leggett?
Yeah, I would. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, to introduce this here, and I want to thank Administrator Moore for bringing this up as well at this time. As the district attorney had mentioned in previous meetings, the staffing, the need, the caseloads they are carrying, that they have a lot of work to do and need more help. And we were not able to get this onto the agenda for the Criminal Justice Committee meeting. I'm happy to see it at this time in year to get it up and going. So I want to thank administration and others for getting this moved forward.
And we have Assistant DA here to help us out.
Yeah, hi, thank you. My name is Matt Buren. I'm Jason Carasone's first Assistant DA. I've been with the county for 16 years, all with the District Attorney's Office. I've worked with Jason the entire time. Kate Hogan hired me way back when. I'll be honest with you, this is my first appearance in front of this board. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I watched Jason's presentation just the other day. I don't think I could do it justice if I was to try to summarize it. There really is no brief way to summarize it for those of you who weren't part of that committee, but I think, and I see some faces here that I know were present for that presentation. I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions anyone may have had for Jason. But other than that, I'll stop. All right,
So
I like no questions.
I think I don't believe I was there for the presentation, but the basis is the two positions. So a new assistant district attorney and the position of legal clerk are both brand new positions effective later in the month after the August board meeting. Does anyone have any questions? Supervisor McGowan?
Thank you, Chairman. I was here. And over the years that I have been here, I've listened to our district attorney speak, and really he speaks well. And he's kind of forewarned us, and I've kind of seen this coming. And I really after listening to his explanation of what's going down with all the new mandates and everything going down, I'd like to make a motion to move this forward.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor McGowan. for both of those, A and B? Do I have a second? Supervisor Driscoll? Discussion. Yes, Supervisor Garrity.
I agree with this, but I think it's time that maybe we pen a letter to the state of New York and our legislators and say, you know, we're having to expend more dollars, county dollars. This is not like a grant, like the Harrell Herring grant.
Mhm.
We're having to expend more county dollars to keep up with everything that they're changing on a state level. So I think it's important that we continue to let them know that, you know, all the changes they're making to the judicial system is costing the local taxpayers more. I think it gets lost every time we add on to keep up with what they have imposed upon us. I
Yeah.
fully support this.
Is that an amendment?
So-
You want me to make an amendment on that one?
Well, I would suggest we just have government ops take it up
Yeah.
as an item. So can we make a note to put that
Sure.
on there, ask them to put that on their agenda because I don't see Supervisor Beatty here anymore. Just a minute, Supervisor Driscoll?
Just very quickly, what the DA articulated very well recently was that money certainly comes into the public defender's office, but those same types of resources aren't available for the district attorney's office. And for the justice to be served, I mean, you really have to have both of those institutions playing on a level playing field. And I certainly support these two positions. Thank you.
For a long time, it was the defender's office was trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
But we do have that grant money, and so I think it's balancing out. Supervisor Leggett?
Thank you, Supervisor Driscoll covered it. I will just add that caseload management is, there's mandate for the public defender to hit certain caseloads and not necessarily on the DA's office here as well. But we know that the cases are going up and the load needs to be carried by more people.
If I could just piggyback on that comment, yeah, it's accurate. We get everything, and there are caseload caps. Understandably, why there are reasons for them for caseload caps on the defense side of things. But every case gets funneled into our office, and it's thousands, and we can handle it. It'd be great to have help though to do that. So we thank you very much for considering this. But part of this discovery, these new laws for discovery, I think Jason really hit the nail on the head when he stated part of the purpose is to help out the defense and the defendant better understand the charges against them. But we're the ones who provide that discovery to the defense. So for that process to work, for the defense to have that better understanding of their cases, they need to be able to get this information. And we're the ones who have to gather it all from everywhere and then funnel it out to the defense side of things. So yeah, they're being funded greatly through indigent legal services and other sources, but there's zero coming our way, unfortunately. So we appreciate the county taking this up and looking at this issue.
We have a motion, a second. Supervisor Wild, go
Madam
ahead.
Chair, thank you. I'm going to be really quick. Is our caseload increasing or is this just a part of the discovery?
Well, I don't have hard numbers on caseloads specifically for you, but if you think about the law enforcement agencies in Warren County, you have the state police, you have the sheriff's department, you have the Glens Falls Police Department. That doesn't take into account environmental conservation officers and even Bolton PD, they have their own PD. Every single case that is generated comes to the DA's office. We also take on special prosecutions from other counties and we do appeals and everything. So that's always been the way. That's always been how it worked for over 200 years. What hasn't always been this way is the discovery rules. For 200 years, discovery would be incrementally turned over to the other side. Sometimes it would be turned over only when it was asked for by the defense. Other times it would be turned over when mandated by law, but that would usually be way down the road after plea negotiations have broken down and we would need to have a hearing or a trial on the matter. I wanted to bring with me some visual aids, but it would be about 8 boxes of paper just to show you one file that we have that's currently under appeal. And that's a file that became trial ready. It went to trial. And it's not 8 boxes because of the appeal. It's 8 boxes because of when it started. And then when the conviction was had, it turned into about 8 boxes of materials. That was under the old way of doing things. The new way of doing things is we have to take every single case at the outset and treat it as though it's ready for trial and turn all of that material over to the defense in a very, very short period of time. And so that's the new burden. And the law, there's many laws and requirements that we have to fulfill. But one of them is that if there is something in the possession of any law enforcement agency in the entire state of New York that's relevant to the subject matter of that case, we are presumed to be in possession of it, even if nobody in our office is even personally aware that it exists. So we are in a constant state on every case of asking for law enforcement agencies to provide us with information. And we're under an obligation to constantly be turning it over as it comes in. I want to thank the chairwoman for allowing me to leave earlier because I was working on another file. And while working on that other file, it was a sheriff's department's file. And in reading one of the responding officer's narratives, he pointed out that the state police assisted on this particular investigation. And I thought to myself, oh boy, I don't have anything from the state police on this case. So I immediately fired off an email saying, hey, can you reach out to the state police and ask for their paperwork, their body cameras, anything they've generated on this case. So it's the caseloads, whether they're greater or lesser, this issue is discovery, and it's at the outset of every case. And that includes traffic as well. It's a lot.
I understand. Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize.
In the
Madam
mic.
Chair. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that there's no underlying cause, whether it be narcotics or some other thing that's going on in society that we need to worry about. This is all purely about the discovery process then.
Well, I wouldn't say purely about the discovery process. I mean, let's not forget about the victims. I mean, we want to make sure. One of the things that frustrates me, generally speaking, about our criminal justice system is that more often than not, people will remember the defendant's name and they'll forget about the victim's name, and they'll never even learn it. But victims of crime, it's hard to argue that a victim of a crime has asked to be part of the criminal justice system. They're thrust into it. And it's not something they planned on happening that day or at any point in their life. So, and they don't choose who prosecutes the case either. You know, a defendant can, if the defendant can afford their own lawyer, they can choose their representation. But the residents of Warren County, the victims of crime in Warren County, they don't have a choice. They have the Warren County DA's office, and we're pretty good, and it's great for them. But they don't have a choice in it. And so we want to make sure we have enough resources to make sure that all victims of crime get their justice. And if something is as simple as turning over materials is getting in the way of a victim getting justice in a case, I mean, that's terrible. You know, it's something where we didn't personally know that there was something in an individual's notepad that was, you know, a note that was taken down, and we're not turning that over. You know, that'd be terrible to then call the victim up and say, I'm sorry, the case didn't turn out the way we thought it could under the circumstances because of this error that we didn't know about. So it's in part having the right amount of resources to be able to handle this obligation at the outset of the case. And then, of course, developing that talent, turning them into good trial lawyers, and being able to deliver if the case does have to go to trial.
All right, thank you. I think everyone does appreciate the need for this and the work that your office does, Jason's office. Yes.
Yes,
Supervisor
thank you.
McGowan.
And we do. The only thing
And I'd
I would
to
like,
Call the question.
the only thing I would like to ask if Mike would have Supervisor Wild had an opportunity just review what Jason came up and said. It was quite empowering of all the work that's involved now with all the new discovery stuff. And it was just really, it really just kind of took me by surprise that there's a lot more work involved in this, in protecting really the people that need to be protected on the costs of the county. And that's why we need to send out the letter too. So if you have an opportunity to watch just that little quick segment with him, it would give you a great understanding of what's happening.
Okay, so that,
Okay.
you two, that was, Amanda is telling me that was our last criminal justice meeting. So that should be online if anyone wants to review it. Going to call the question unless you want to speak up, Supervisor Chairwoman.
No, I just want to say I have it in the direct minute. I'll just send it out to the whole board.
Oh, great. Thank you. Good. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Thanks
you.
again.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
I don't see anyone from the public here unless the sheriff wants to speak to us. Please, no. Okay. All right, guys. I think that's it. Guess I'll ask Dawn if there's anybody online making comments at the risk of,
Not that I'm aware of. I think we are comment free on YouTube.
thank you very much. Motion to adjourn, Supervisor Conover, second by Supervisor Garrity. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, that carries. Thank you all.